When William Hawthorne was born, no one expected him to become a man of success. In fact, no one even knew he existed. His story, shrouded in mystery and abandonment, began in a place where few would imagine. A trash bag, discarded and forgotten like something of no value. It was a cold winter morning in a city forgotten by time. On the outskirts of a hospital where poverty was a shadow that haunted every corner, a woman, faceless and nameless, found herself in a desperate situation. With no money, no support, she gave birth to her child in a lonely, unsupported delivery, and as fate seemed intent on adding more hardship to her life, the baby was abandoned, left behind in the trash as if it were worthless, without a chance. But William, still an infant, was not ready to give in to the cruel fate that awaited him. The fate, dark as it was, had something else in store for him. Hours later, a woman named Beatrice, a social worker at a local shelter, found the baby. She was returning from a long day at work when she heard a small sound coming from an alley. Curious, and with a heart full of compassion, she followed the noise, and, to her surprise, found the baby abandoned in the trash, covered in food scraps and crumpled paper. He was alive, breathing with difficulty, his eyes still closed, but with an inexplicable strength. Beatrice, a woman with a heart of gold, would never forget that moment. As she took the baby into her arms, she felt not just the softness of his skin, but a spark of hope emanating from his being. She knew that this child's fate could not be one of abandonment. Beatrice took William to a nearby orphanage, where he was quickly cared for, though the staff were uncertain of his future. His tiny body, bruised from the cold, required attention and time to heal. But his eyes, even at such a young age, gleamed with an uncanny intelligence. The orphanage staff were used to seeing children grow into their environment, some with quiet resilience, others more withdrawn. But William, he was different. The orphanage became William's first classroom. He learned to speak, read, and write faster than any child there. At 6 years old, he was already reading novels, and by the time he was 10, he had devoured entire libraries. He began asking questions no one could answer, questions about his birth, his family, and the truth behind his abandonment. The curiosity that sparked within him at such a young age would never fade, and it soon became his driving force. But it wasn't just his mind that set him apart, it was his heart. William formed bonds with the other orphans, often standing up for them when they were bullied or neglected. He shared what little he had, and he never saw himself as superior, despite his talents. He was a protector and a nurturer, qualities that he would carry with him through his entire life. When William was 18, an unexpected turn of events changed the course of his life forever. He received a letter, one that would open the doors to a world he had never known. The letter was from a lawyer representing the Hawthorne family, one of the wealthiest and most influential families in the country. The letter revealed that William was the long-lost son of a woman named Evelyn Hawthorne, a socialite with ties to the most powerful circles in the nation. William's biological mother had been a part of an illicit affair, and the consequences of her actions led her to abandon him on that cold winter day. The truth hit him like a hammer. He had grown up without a family, without a name, and yet he was the heir to a fortune that no one had ever told him about. The lawyer's letter also revealed that William's mother had passed away several years earlier, never once acknowledging the son she had discarded. The revelation left William torn. He was overwhelmed with emotions. Part of him felt a deep sense of betrayal from the woman who had abandoned him, but another part of him felt an undeniable curiosity. Who were his real parents? Why had they left him in such a cruel way? Was there a chance for reconciliation, or was he forever marked by the wounds of his birth? He traveled to the family estate, a sprawling mansion nestled in the hills, surrounded by gardens and history. There, he met his biological family, cold, indifferent figures who barely acknowledged his presence. But he did find something that no amount of money could buy: answers. He uncovered his mother's diary, a record of her regrets, her fears, and the secret life she had lived, one that ultimately led to his abandonment. As he read the diary, William learned that his mother had been trapped in a loveless marriage, desperate to escape the suffocating pressure of society's expectations. When she found herself pregnant with him, she saw no way out. Her affair with a powerful man, his father, had left her with nothing but shame and guilt. She couldn't bear the thought of raising a child who would be a constant reminder of her mistake, so she chose to dispose of him. It was a bitter pill to swallow. William had grown up in poverty, dreaming of a family that could love him, only to find that his real family had rejected him from the moment he was born. But even in the midst of this betrayal, something within him clicked. He realized that he was not defined by his past, not by the family who abandoned him, and certainly not by the mistakes of his biological mother. Armed with this new understanding, William began to rebuild his life, not as the orphan child of a wealthy family, but as a man who had earned every success he would ever have. He entered the business world, determined to make his mark. His sharp intellect and relentless drive quickly propelled him to the top, and by his late 20s he had established a multi-million-dollar company. But William did not forget where he came from. Despite the immense wealth he had acquired, he never lost sight of the pain that had shaped him. He became an advocate for orphaned children, dedicating his fortune to building homes, schools, and support systems for those who, like him, had no family to call their own. He worked tirelessly to ensure that children in similar situations would never feel abandoned or unloved. Eventually, William's story became well known, not just because of his wealth, but because of his courage to rise from the ashes of his painful past. He spoke publicly about the power of resilience, about how being discarded by the world did not have to define a person's future. His message inspired millions. The world saw William Hawthorne as a symbol of triumph over adversity, a man who, despite being born in the most forsaken place possible, had risen to the pinnacle of success. And though his biological family continued to live in their own detached, cold world, William found peace in knowing that he was no longer the boy in the trash, discarded and forgotten. He was a man who had claimed his life as his own. In the end, William Hawthorne was more than just a millionaire. He was a legacy, a testament to the strength of the human spirit, the power of self-determination, and the idea that no matter how cruel life may begin, it is never too late to rewrite your story. The end.